I met a gypsy.
The equivalent, again, that everybody's like, it's kind of one of the main reasons I've jumped to 6D moto helmets over the last 2 years, because I've just watched since I started it come from about 22, 23 kilometers an hour average all the way up to 30 now, and that's happened in like the course of 7-8 years. And not only that, you look at the terrain that we're landing on. So a motocross helmet's designed for motocross speeds and motocross impacts, but they're always kind of landing on dirt. Of course, the dirt can be hard pack. I respect that. But we can literally land on a rock that's just one savage point, that's like 3 inches tall. There's roots. You wouldn't believe the stuff that lies on a downhill track that we just ride on over. And then you're doing 70k an hour on top of that. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, we should have like super bike suits on. We should have leathers on with what's lying on the ground and the possibilities of what you could do it yourself. Airbag technology, so much stuff. The reality is we've got a pair of pajamas on because the material is as thin and light as it can possibly be. So you're wearing pajamas and a pair of knee pads and just, right, see you at the bottom, guys, and off you go, 80 kilometers an hour down a ski piece. It's insane. It really is. You need to stop yourself sometimes and look and go, wow, like we are nuts.
Well,
we're actually mental.
I completely agree. It's absolutely insane, the risk that you guys are exposed to and just what you get away with, But have you ever looked into the Alpine Stars airbag stuff? Because apparently Faulkner's racing with it this weekend in Supercross.
Interesting, yeah. So I know Vince that used to be the Fox guy. I don't know what his exact name was, but Vince moved to Alpine Star. You probably know, big tall Vince. So great guy, super good friends with Loris. So I remember him telling Loris last year that their plan was to come out with some airbag stuff, and obviously me and Loris were like, yes, that would be so sick for downhill because it would look really slim, keep you out of the wind as much as possible. But if you did have a huge, it will puff up. The big problem with, and I don't know how they're going to get around this in motocross. Once you crash, you need to finish the moto. So once the airbag's popped, then what happens? Because then now I'm thinking I'm going to get back on. Most of them are designed to gradually deflate. Well, now if I have a hugie, I'm protected by a plastic bag. It's like, what happens then? So I think that's the problem with downhill at the moment, is like you can have a crash, if not 2 in a run, and you still need to get back up and finish. And I guess it's the same for motocross. Whereas for super bikes, you crash, your bike's probably blasted, you're done. MotoGP, you crash, you're kind of done. Like, it's a lot easier to make a protection item for a sport like that in comparison to motocross, where you need to protect yourself against a rock. A 450 can throw half a house brick at you doing like 40 miles an hour. If you've got no airbag, it needs to have some sort of other armor under that, and then you start layering up, you start getting super sooty. It's an area that there's huge potential in protection for downhill and motocross, I'd say, but the airbag stuff's difficult, isn't it, for that reason?
Yeah, I think it's just going to get better and better over time, and there's probably a way to just like have a release valve on it or something. But I mean, I think for you guys, like if you crash in a run to where that airbag goes off, like you're probably not winning the run again.
Exactly.
But I guess there's points and all that sort of stuff. Have you noticed a difference with the wearing a moto helmet? Because I feel like, I mean, I'm probably going to do some downhill runs at some point here soon, and I'll just be wearing my moto helmet.
Yeah. So you should, absolutely. I mean, actually on the bike, it makes no real odds at all. The viewing size is the same. Arguably your head gets a wee bit hotter, but in small price to pay for the extra safety that it can bring. Most downhill mountain bike helmets are made for breathability is like their number one focus, which you don't really need in a downhill run. You put your helmet on at the top and you need to have that thing on for 4 minutes, and during those 4 minutes I've got a lot more on my mind than what temperature my head's at. So I just opted for the maximum amount of safety straight away. Like I say, the average speeds that we're doing at now are the same as an AMA motocross track, which is mental. So stick a motocross helmet on it. It makes total sense. The goggle interface, everything works fine. We pretty much use motocross goggles as well for downhill anyway. So the only maybe argument is the size, because the motocross bike's so much bigger. You can get away with the big helmet doesn't look out of place. The rider will always look small on a motocross bike, whereas on a downhill bike, because everything else is so skinny and our kit's all so tight, it can look a bit bubble-heady, but I've just fully lent into that, to be honest. I don't really care. It's great marketing. The helmet stands out. Everybody looks at it. I don't think there's any problems with that, to be honest. So yeah, I advise everybody, if you're going over average speeds of 25-30 kilometers an hour, you should probably be wearing a motocross helmet.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense to me. So what else on the team or the program, like, is there anything else that you're super stoked on and that's kind of like different and out of the box?
We've got a lot of stuff coming. I'm not going to lie. There's probably no part of the bike that won't be tinkered with and fettled with. We've already started working on bike number 3. So the last post on Instagram I put up, just a few short clips, was the second generation of the bike. So we've not even been to a race yet. The team's only been formulated for a month, and in 2 months' time I could have 3 bikes to choose from. So that's already insane. I've been playing a lot recently with flat pedals. I've always been a massive fan of flat pedals. There's just something about, it's harder. It's undoubtedly harder, and I've kind of known, if you speak to any of my friends, I'm known for doing things the hard way sometimes, just because I want to prove to myself. And flat pedals to me is the ultimate form of mountain biking. It's so damn difficult. It'd be like trying to ride snowboard with no clips. A motocross bike with like no foot pegs is what it would feel like. It's just that much harder. So I'd really like to look into flat pedals and see if there's a way of blurring the line between a flat and a clip, and try and win a World Cup on flat pedals. Is like a really small goal that I've got quite far down the priority list. But I think that would be cool, because it, like I say, pedaling's becoming less and less now, and one of the number one benefits of clips is the fact that you can pedal in them stronger. So if we lose the need to pedal, then we could gain elsewhere, and I think there are gains to be made from flat pedals. There's better ways to design them, and the shoe is always, there's one shoe designed for kind of one pedal. I guess this goes back to the bike industry in a nutshell. It's like you're creating a pedal, every pedal has to fit this standard of crank. So the crank company is now limited, and the pedal company is now limited, and that's the bike through and through. So at Aeon Racing, we now have the possibility to machine any part we like. So I'll be machining my own stems this year. We'll possibly be creating our own crowns, our own cranks if we want. We've also merged with Hope Technologies in the UK, who are a massive manufacturer of brakes and huge in the trials motor world, as you know. Amazing guys, Sam Sharp, Daniel Bladen, who was on our old team. Those guys have looked after us so well over the last few years. So they've basically given us free rein. Like, if you guys have an idea, we'll provide the engineering hours and we'll make it with you. So hell, at some point we might even get into the world of making our own suspension. There's been a few conversations about that recently, and at the moment we have Manitou, who are absolutely brilliant right now. They're fully in on our idea of how racing needs to go now, and that just whatever you guys need sort of thing is how all of our sponsors have reacted. They love that storyline, and they want to be a part of the progression and see where they as a company can get cycling and how they can make cycling look, which so refreshing. And it's almost hard to believe that there's companies out there as big as the ones that are supporting us, willing to do that and believing in me and my ideas in order to do it. So yeah, to answer your question, Jace, pretty much everything on the bike will get fiddled with at some point. So you guys will need to watch pretty closely as well, because some of them might be kind of hidden.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.